Hey, everyone. Danger Planet, welcome back. I'm Brandon. This is Doug. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
We're talking about the Fistful of Credits.
You are.
Making their own noise.
Well, you said they didn't have tongues earlier, so I don't really know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but they can be like,
Ah?
Yeah, probably.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, he's here at last. Everyone's favorite character, Jesus. I mean, Cad Bane. I don't know why I said Jesus. That was weird. But Cad Bane, what a notorious hunter. Am I right?
I mean, let's go. Regardless
Dude,
of whether or not this model is good or not,
yeah,
I love Cad Bane.
I will
he's
say
my favorite character from Star Wars, and quite frankly, it is not even close.
Yeah, I think so. I have two problems with Cad Bane. My first problem is that I have only watched good Star Wars things, which means only Episode 2. I think that his I don't know if they're breathing tubes. I don't remember why Duros have the tubes. I think it has to do with breathing, but whatever the tubes are, I bet that those are going to suck to build. The hat's going to be great, but I hope that it really depends on how they cast it, right? Because the hand could be like a separate part. I mean, it's not Malifaux, it's fine, but
literally,
Jesus.
yeah, I was about to say, dude, what are you talking about? I've seen you build like 200 Malifaux models. You're
but
Atomic Mass Games model?
I might be. But yeah, dude, oh my God. Other than that, though, this lad, he's going to do some stuff. All right, let's just jump right into it, right? So Cad Bane, also making some waves, like his good buddy that we talked about on a previous episode, Mr. Windu. He is the first 9 squad point character. He's also the first 2 force point primary unit, which both are wild stuff. It's not as crazy as you think. We'll get into it in a second. But so first, he has 2 activated abilities. He has How About You Step Aside, where for 1 force, you get to choose an enemy character within 3 and an active objective that they can test. Now, the objective doesn't have to be within 3, just the character. But the chosen character may advance away from the objective. May dash away from the objective. Yeah. If they want to dash, great. After any moves are resolved from this ability, if the chosen character is no longer contesting the objective, they're disarmed. But if they are still contesting it, they're exposed and strained.
Yeah.
Now, if they choose not to get away from it, you're gonna kill them. But oh, dude, it's so good. So it's 1 force. It's an activated ability, 1 force. The threshold for this is so cool. I love stuff like this. It's so neat. He also has rocket boots, which is just a great 1 force ability. It lets him jump. He has a reactive ability, which you also have to pay for, which costs 1 force. You're seeing a theme here. He has lots of force, not many force points, lots of force. But after any other allied unit makes a combat action, if Cad Bane's not engaged, you can pay 1, and if he's within 4 of the target, they'll take 2 damage. If he's not within 4 of the target, then he gets to jump towards them, which there's no range on it. It's just he gets to jump towards it. So you get a sort of a free, almost contractualist move whenever somebody else attacks for a force, which is really good. But again, he only gives you 2 force points, which brings us to his identity ability. I'll take on any job for the right price. Whenever an allied character wounds an enemy unit, after that effect's resolve, refresh a force, and he gets to heal 1. But if the allied character is a bounty hunter, then he gets to refresh a 2nd force. And I think it's just worth noting, we do have a couple prominent bounty hunters, not only in this box, but also Mr. Fett.
Yeah, one of the best models.
The Django variety.
Yeah, one of the best models in the game right now is a bounty hunter, and that model is Django Fett.
Yeah, it is. He's so cool. But that's literally it for the moment. Obviously, as more things come out, more bounty hunters, especially we'll definitely have more bounty hunters soon. But right now, it's just these 3 models in this squad pack, and Django Fett are the only bounty hunters currently released.
I also think it's worth noting that I mean, you're right. We're gonna keep seeing more bounty hunters, obviously, and I think that the fact that he has 9, he's a 9 cost, will.
Yeah.
Over time, as the pool of models becomes larger and larger, that fact will become more and more relevant. Right now, there's kind of 1 or 2 ways you can run him that I'm thinking of, but over time,
there's literally only 2 secondaries that you can take that will let you even fill out his whole squad point allotment, right?
Right.
It's this guy and Kalani are the only 2 5-cost, I think.
Yeah, and there's no 5-cost support. There's no 5
yeah, there's no 5-cost support yet.
Yeah.
But we'll see one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 9 is really interesting. Also, he has 9 health and 3 lives. But dude, this guy's got some stuff going on. He's an enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a thin veneer of spending a crap load of force points to do a bunch of cool effects.
Yeah,
you know?
He's got a lot going on. My take on this guy is that he's really mobile. He allows you to have synergy with Django.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that you're going to need to use correctly to really get good mileage out of this model is how about you step aside. That is a thing.
Sure.
That is an ability that I see myself using whenever possible, basically. I think it's very, very force efficient in terms of the force spent to get a powerful effect. And it's like you said, right? Like, they're going to either move off of the objective or they're going to get exposed and strained.
Yeah. So it really, the move off the objective and getting disarmed is good. It weakens them. It gets out of position, and for single force, I think that's really good. And it does sort of tailor which way they can go, which I think maybe people will do. Importantly, away specifically means in a 90-degree arc that is like drawn perpendicular to the 2 points of where the thing is and the thing. So they got to go in kind of a specific direction.
Yeah.
So if they've made the mistake of coming on your half and they want to not get exposed strained, they have to move towards you, right? So that might be a thing that's really interesting. But I think we'll see where that goes. But yeah, how about you step aside is certainly an ability.
Yeah, and then rocket boots is just good to have in the kit.
Yeah.
With rocket boots, in addition to some of his other abilities, he can get multiple jumps in a single turn, which is really good. Like, if you just have to haul ass to like an objective on like the other side of the map that would normally take any other character 2 turns, being able to jump move is like really significant. So that's good. And then again, like we already talked about it, but no one gets between me and my job, as well as I'll take on any job for the right price. They seem like pretty solid abilities. I think the most powerful thing he's doing is probably how about you step aside, in my opinion, if I'm being honest. And then like
I think so too. Yeah.
And then the other thing that really stands out to me about this card is actually his damage tracks. He has an 8 dice attack. He has an 8 dice attack that can 5 track someone on 3 progressions. That also has a push, which is pretty spicy.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 2 really interesting stance cards for sure. Yeah.
And he's got like his dogged tenacity is pretty solid for a defense specialties.
Weirdly, it changes depending on his like less rangy attacky, slightly more defensive cards. I wouldn't even describe them as that.
No,
really. They're almost identical. No, it's as long as I get paid on 1 to 2 has 1 less block. That's the only difference.
What?
Yeah, as long as I get paid,
you're right.
His 1 to 2 has 1 block, whereas Dogged Tenacity on Needs No Introduction has 2 block.
Yeah,
but other than that, 3 and 4 and 5 are both literally identical. His 5 is block, a crit becomes a miss, heal 1, jump.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
What an ability. I mean, it's almost never going to happen, but like, good lord.
Yeah, I feel like when you're judging defensive specialty tracks, you want to look at where they're landing between 1 and 3. Like, that's where you're going to see
outside of 3 is an insane pipe dream. It's just like, it's so unreliable unless they're chucking like 8 or 9 defense dice, right? Which almost no one does.
Yeah, and then this guy's track, so like he throws 7 dice in his like quote unquote defensive form, or like I guess there is no defensive. Like
I don't even know. Again, dude's got some stuff going on. I will say as long as I get paid does seem a little bit better because he has a crit on 1 single expertise in both melee and ranged. And in melee he's at 7 dice instead of 6. So like I think as long as I get paid is his melee form and Needs No Introduction is his ranged form.
You know, the other interesting thing is when as long as I get paid would be really good is if you go and you use how about you step aside, and then the opponent is like, all right, I'll take a disarm then, fuck it. And then you're like, cool, now my track is 2-2-3 because the disarm turns into
because
damage.
They're disarmed. Yeah, which is really funny. And because just wait until you use how about you step aside and then decide which side to flip his stance card before you attack,
decide
right?
before you attack. Yeah, because if
Yeah.
if the opponent is disarmed, all of a sudden you've got a 2-track into 2 damage, into 4 damage, into fucking 7 damage. So at that point, it's a 7 damage 3-track rolling 7 dice with a really, really good specialty track on his shot.
Yeah.
So
and
like
2 crits,
that's a
and 2 crits
solid,
on 2 expertise, right?
That's a solid attack at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's funny that like sort of it's sort of damned if I do, damned if I don't. You're like, oh god damn, this guy's just gonna make my life miserable.
Right.
And again, if they made the mistake of being on like slightly past the objective to try and screen it away from you so that you'd have to like get engaged to get in it, then they have to move away from it, which means they can't move back towards their line. They have to move forward towards yours if they're going to dash away.
You can also manipulate around. You can also manipulate him around things and like play with where he is relative to the model.
This dude is like the Zoraida of Shatterpoint. He's got so much weird crap going on, and it's so finessey. And oh my god, I love everything about this guy. He does so many interesting things.
He doesn't knock you over the head as overtly powerful, but the longer you look at his card and the longer you look at his damage track abilities, the more cheeky, keen nonsense you can kind of like suss out from what he's capable of, which I feel like is so Cad Bane-y. Like, for all of us in the Cad Bane fan club, of which I am the president, come at me, the internet, like, that's so Cad Bane-y, right? It's like, and then you look a little closer and you're like, wait a second, there's definitely something here, because this guy's good. Like, he's not overtly just disgustingly powerful, like how a Vader or an Anakin or a Savage Opress, you read the card and you're just like, well, I see how that guy kills people. You're more like, you read Cad Bane's card and you're like, wow, that's a lot of text. Let me think for a second about how this is practically applicable in my Shatterpoint matches, you know?
Yeah. And like, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, he like, I think his hard cap is like 10 damage, right? He literally can't do more than that.
But he doesn't, that's not when he's good. He's good when he's 3-tracking people for 7 or 8 damage. That's when he's amazing.
He does stuff, that's for sure.
Like 3-tracking people for high amounts of damage is really good as well.
Yeah, I think that the auto synergy here is you pick a dude that gives you 4, so that way you have 6 force points, right? To bring him alongside with.
Aurra Sing.
And his whole box has a bunch of flexibility. So let's chat about those. So we got Ms. Aurra Sing. Aurra Sing is a 5-cost secondary unit, which is the second one that we've ever seen. And she's got 3 reactive abilities, which also you have to pay for all of them. So again, holy shit, the force commitment. But here's what we got. So we get double the contract, double the payout, which is after a character in this unit makes an attack as part of a combat action. This unit can use this ability. One character in this unit make a 5-dice attack targeting a character in a different enemy unit, which means if you're shooting, I guess it's theoretically possible in melee. But if you're shooting somebody, you get a second 5-dice shot on someone else. It's got to be a different unit. So if you're in melee, you'd have to be physically engaging 2 units, which seems unlikely. But that's one of her reactive abilities. It costs 1 force. Hit and run also seems very good. Reactive ability. Good. It says after a character in this unit makes an attack as part of a combat action, you can use this ability. You may reposition, which means you get an advance even if you're engaged. So a full move afterwards, also super, super strong. You note you're only allowed to react to each thing once, which means when you make a combat action, you can use either double the contract, double the payout, or hit and run. But like being able to walk forward, shoot somebody, and then get back in cover or completely obscured it's so unbelievably strong. She also has a third reactive ability that costs 1 force called Payday, which is after you reveal an order card. You may use this ability. If it does, this unit gains 1 tag of your choice until the end of the turn. Which means if you are playing her with just some random crap, you can be like, oh, I'll pay a force. She's a Galactic Republic now. Or, oh, she's a Sith Inquisitor or Jedi Hunter or Inquisitorious or whatever the keyword is for the coolest lads in the game. Or Gungan when the Gungan come out. She can be a Gungan if you want. And then lastly, she has an innate ability called Expendable Distraction. So whenever she makes a ranged attack as part of a combat action, if the defender is engaged with 1 or more allied characters in units that are not wounded, you can add 3 dice to the attack, but the engaged ally takes 2 damage, which is kind of a chunk of damage, but for plus 3 dice is sort of wild.
Yeah, she's really good. I'm really excited to play with this model. I think how I'm going to end up using this model is very similar to how like Dark Eldar played in 9th edition Warhammer 40,000. The hit and run ability is very similar to like what I would think of as like a fire and fade ability. So you can bring this model up into the center of the map, and then you can make sure that she has line of sight to the majority of things that are going to be happening, but also like an easy way to like tuck into or out of line of sight, or even just out of threat range, because she has a range 5 gun. So if she stays on the very edge of her threat range and she makes sure that she out threat ranges whatever she's fighting against, she'll very easily be able to like scoot up, shoot, scoot backwards out of range. And then the hiding thing doesn't work as well, because if people are on elevations, they can just see through to you or whatever. But
yeah, but
I think
maybe you have
outranging, I think outranging is a huge deal here, because if you do that correctly the entire game, they will never really be able to attack her, and you're just going to be peppering the custom sniper rifle shots, which is really strong. The custom sniper rifle is stat 7 with a decent track and some cool stuff going on. We'll talk about that in like 1 second. And then the other thing I have is that she seems also pretty good at spitting out dice to clean up. She can, like, the thing that I like about her is that she can either target a pretty beefy unit and probably not one-shot it, but probably do a chunk of damage, or you can reasonably target like one pretty healthy supporting unit and one kind of wounded support unit, or like one pretty healthy secondary, like any mix of those that aren't primaries with crazy defensive tracks, and she might even be able to get like a turn where she kills 2 things.
Oh yeah, I think that's entirely viable. And then hit and run in addition to being super good defensively, like there are times where you just have to be like, that's the primary objective, because we're in
and I need to
round 2 and 3, and I need to get 2 full advances and take a combat unit, which you can just yeet her down the field if you want.
Yeah,
probably not a great idea, but there are times where that could win you the game.
Right, that's a ton of movement. 2 full movements is a ton of movement.
Yeah, it's a lot. The thing that confuses me more than anything else is it looks like the like sling on her rifle is going directly through her skull in the picture, and it's really bothering me.
I think that's because she's like pseudo cyborgy. I think that's an antenna coming out of her head.
Oh, does she have an antenna? Oh, maybe it is. Oh, okay. Well, get down in the comments. Let us know what you think that is. If it's an antenna, cool, but weird.
No, it's an antenna coming out of her head.
Is she a cyborg?
Yeah. Well,
I thought
she has robotic parts to her. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what happens when you only watch the best Star Wars movie, Episode 2, starring Jar Jar Binks.
The beginning, middle, and end of the saga. It's Episode 2. Anyway, I also think Expendable Distraction is like nice. I don't think you're going to be using that every time, but it's nice to have. And then I think makes the most sense to just talk about her track. You want me to talk a little bit about her tree, and then you tell me why I'm stupid, wrong, upside down, or right?
Maybe.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So, not asking permission is her her side of the card here. She's got a custom sniper rifle. It's got a pretty good specialty track. On 1, it just is a damage. 2 to 3 is a crit and a damage. And then if you get 4 or more, it's 2 crits and a damage. And then up close and personal for melee, her track is a lot less impressive. 1 is a normal hit, 2 is a normal crit, and 3 or more is a crit and a hit. So you really want to be shooting stuff with this lady. Like that's where she's going to really shine. She's got 5 in defense against both melee and range. And then her defensive specialty is Dexterous Dodge. 1 through 2 gives you a block and turn a crit to a miss. And then 3 or more gives you a block, turn a crit to a miss, and a jump, which is decent. Pretty decent. Not like crazy, I would say, but pretty good. And then really what we're here for is the attacks, right? She throws 6 dice in melee. Again, her custom blaster pistols are not the best, but throwing 7 dice with a custom sniper rifle, that's pretty good. And she's doing it at range 5. So if we always look at tracks, right? Her first track right out the gate is it's pinned, right? Isn't that symbol?
Yep.
I call it staggered from Malifaux, but it's not. It's obviously pinned because we're playing Shatterpoint.
Pinned and a damage.
So it's pinned and a damage, and then you can get another progression, which is she can either do 2 damage with the blood drop condition, plus another 2 damage. Like then she does another 2 damage, then she does a damage with an exposed, then she does a reposition, then she does another 2 damage, and basically you've got an alternative track that you can have access to, where on 3rd and 4th progression she'll do shoves. So if you need her to, from like a really far way away, she can basically shove people off. And if you decide that you're not going with that, she can spam out conditions and, quite frankly, a lot of damage, because she 5 damages on a 3-track progression, which is not bad. And then her max damage out is what? 5.
Well,
like
5
7,
damage,
8.
right? Which could be more. You know.
Sure. I mean, you're peppering conditions across that. I think the only condition you're missing on this track is a disarm.
Yeah, and her 5th, if you get to 5th track either way, regardless of which path you go down, you're getting some extra movement out of it as well, which is pretty good. Yeah, she's got stuff. She's you know, five's a lot, and she is very force hungry, right? Because I think like every time you activate her, you want to be spending at least 1 force.
Yeah.
And like, you know, if you're gonna be using payday as well to make her, you know, with whatever synergy you got to make her do stuff and cool things or bonuses, like, really, really interesting. Again, it's one of those guys who just has a lot of play, and she's got a lot of stuff you can do with her. She's not overtly perhaps the most killy, but she's got a lot of things that she can do.
This strikes me as a model that you want to keep on the fringe of engagement, and use positioning to keep her alive and get the maximum amount out of her model, basically. Positioning is going to be critically important with this model, especially because she's a 5 cost. Like, she's kind of expensive. I guess that doesn't really mean anything after you start the game, but you've invested a lot of theoretical resources in her. So I think one of the most important things in order to pilot this model correctly is going to be really intimately understanding threat ranging with her sniper rifle. And then when you need to like flip the game state, doing what Brandon said, which is, oh shit, I got to be somewhere real quick. Let me go double move to that location. So like the combination of using her in the early and mid game for threat ranging her just outside of an opponent's threat range, and then using hit and run to toggle that to be able to spike damage and like kind of skirt on the edge of engagement, and then when needed, flip the board and make it like halfway across the board to get to a point.
Yeah, because like, you know, with one good egress point or ingress point, you could easily get her diagonally, basically from the bottom left objective to the top right objective. Like that's
even if she's on a higher point going down, right? Going down in this game is just a straight move. So
yeah, there's so many things that you can do. She's real fast if you need her to be. So I think it cool model. All in all, I really like Sing, and I'm definitely excited to play with her as soon as she is physically available somewhere.
You ready to do some bounty hunting?
I've always hunted bounties. No, I've hunter's bounty several times in my life, and these guys are cool. They're a 4-cost unit because Cad Bane has 9, which is wild. They have a tactic called On the Trail. At the start of this unit's activation, every character in the unit can dash towards an enemy character, which is basically a dash, but a little restrictive. But it's interesting for sure. You get a dash out of it for free, which is free movement's always good. They have an activated ability called Tools of the Trade. I almost said Tools for the Job. If only, man. Can you imagine? You get to take a shot. One of your unit cards from your discard pile and put it in your hand.
What if it was just Tools from the Trade in Malifaux, like written right onto that, and it's like, take a Shatterpoint card from your hand and replace it with a Shatterpoint card, and you're just like, wait.
Then end this unit's activation, activate a different one. What a time. No. Tools of the Trade. 1 force, either choose an enemy within 3, they get disarmed, or this unit gets Sharpshooter 2 and Impact 2 until end of turn. So if your plan with them is focus attack, it's you know, you do that, right? It's pretty good. And they have the reactive ability Payday that we saw on Aurra Sing, which lets you treat them as any other tag, or it gives you them any tag until end of turn, that you can do anytime you reveal an order card. So like, yeah, interesting dudes. They got 8 lives, 2 lives, 8 health.
They're also dual age.
What?
They're dual age. Their ages.
Oh yeah. Because they're the Clone Wars and also Galactic Civil War, which means Sing's not though.
Sing is not.
That's very strange.
No,
I mean,
Sing
I guess
and Cad Bane are individuals. These are meant to represent like the bounty hunters across the galaxy.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. Aurra Sing, as far as I recall, had like basically was a crazy assassin. Like like 80 years of assassinating, which is like the whole span of everything that's happening. But yeah, that's fine.
I would have definitely loved for them to have given her duel. That would have been dope.
Yeah, no, but just these guys are. It's really interesting.
Cad Bane and her are both not duel. They're both the earlier clone eras.
Yeah, they're both just Clone Wars, which doesn't make sense because Aurra Sing canonically worked for Vader during the Galactic Imperium, but that's fine. It's fine. Jedi Jango Fett's also canonically a Mandalorian. I'm not mad. So bounty hunters, though, what a guy! I love the little Bat Kid. He's my favorite.
I want to know little robot who's like flying on the little jetpacks. He's the man.
And you get both because the models are super cool. Oh my gosh, I want Bat Kid. That's my plan. I don't know who he is. If he's a character, tell us in the comments. But they're so they got some interesting tracks. Like they're not the most killy. They're a support unit though. Like
well, but think about the fact that for a force they can give themselves impact 2 or shoot 2.
Right? Yeah. So they have 6 dice either way on their attacks. 5 range defense, 4 melee defense, but 6 dice if they focus attack. Whether it's focus melee attack or focus shoot, they're gonna have 9 dice on an attack.
And the biggest thing,
which is a lot.
They have a 1 track per their first track.
They have a 1 track shove. One track shove. That's the bread and butter of Shatterpoint, I think. So they can either go shove and a damage pin, damage shove, exposed, or 2 damage pin, damage shove, exposed. So like you can get 2 shoves on 4 pips, and like if you hit 2 expertise with your 9 dice, you're getting a crit and a damage, right? At least on range. Their melee is significantly less impressive. With 1 gives you a hit, 2 gives you a hit and a damage. But you're chucking a bunch of dice at their attack if you're doing like, I'm gonna murder things, right? They get to move at the beginning of their thing, so you should be able to get them into position. Then you spend a force to give them sharp or impact 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally you're giving them focus
attack, right?
Yeah, I think you're ideally giving them sharpshooter and then focusing, which means you're throwing 9 dice at a person.
Yeah. And like, depending on where you're at, like ideally, hopefully you'll have somebody with some sort of coordinated fire that they can opt into. Because if you coordinated fire, I mean, what's their damage cap? It's like what, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As long as you get 2 expertise, that's not great.
I mean, it's bad. You're not using these guys to hurt things because their last progression is not even damage. You're using these guys to early track shove things off of at range. That's what these guys are doing.
Yeah, they get to shove. It's interesting. They can pepper a little bit of damage, but they're not going to do much in that respect. Even though you're chucking so many dice. Which is kind of, I don't know, kind of underwhelming.
You're just trying to hit someone from range 5 to push them off an objective.
Yeah, range 5 shove is no joke. That's what pays the bills, I think.
Yeah.
They're definitely guys.
It's also worth noting that these will be really, really accessible to almost any list that wants them, that like needs a supporting unit that also has synergy. They've designed this model in such a way that for like basically the foreseeable future, you'll be able to use these guys and have synergy benefit with them because of payday, and you won't be stuck in a scenario where you're like, all right, well, I have no options for like this second supporting unit that I want for my homebrew list or something. Like if you need to plug holes in lists, these guys are pretty decent. Like I would say the other model that exists in this space right now, simply because their keyword is not supported, is the evil Mandalorians, the red Mandalorians. They're also very good, like, standalone higher support units that can just kind of go into any list. And I think that's an important thing that these guys do that we need to make sure we stop and we kind of, like, recognize for a second.
Yeah, I think overall, I really like Cad Bane. I really like Aurra Sing. I feel like in almost all cases, you're going to be choosing a synergy-focused list where right now they're better options. But certainly as list building expands and there's different things, there will be cases where you just need a 4-point support unit, and these guys can do it. Because even regardless, we don't know what's going to affect them yet, but there are synergies that you can just pay a force for to give them, right? Which is potentially incredibly important. But who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I think that wraps up the Fistful of Credits squad pack. It's got a bunch of cool models. I love Bat Kid. I want an army of Bat Kids.
I think we all know you basically just want a Bat Kid plushie.
I just want a Bat Kid. I want a Bat Kid plushie. That'd be great.
I want an Aurra Sing plushie and a Cad Bane plushie.
Ooh, maybe. But yeah, if you have any comments on those, or if you want to see sort of what we're talking about with those, jump in the Discord. That's for sure. Definitely check us out on the YouTube's, comment, like, subscribe, that sort of deal. If you want to see like some painting and modeling tips, we're going to link the Goonhammer article on these guys below. If you don't know what Goonhammer is, please check it out. They're one of the best resources for wargaming in any capacity on the interwebs. Check them out. They're great. And when you get to painting your own models, strongly recommend you paint with Procrail. They're the best paints that exist. They don't pay us to say this. I just am going to say it until they do pay us to to do this, because oh my gosh,
and C4 energy drinks are the best energy drinks.
I don't know about
C4.
Like, okay, look, we did an energy drink tier list a long time ago, but can I just say, Rain's new Storm line is really growing on me. The Valencia Orange has legs and play they were not out at time of filming for our energy drink tier list.
Yeah, I think we've started an argument that could take hours at this point, so I'll just cede this to you and argue with you about it offline.
Yeah, well, sometimes you gotta, right? But yeah, that's all I got. That's all the planet. I'm gonna be a Brandon, and Doug's gonna be a Doug. Bye.
Seamless.
What?
Seamless outro.
I feel like that's a very seamed outro.